Welcome to this week's learning moment, where we're going to be talking about Elsa and someone not changing after feedback. Before I get started, as always, the learning moment is in the notes below if you need a refresher. I would love it if you would like and comment on this so that I can hear what your thoughts are. It's important that we share things as a community. That's how we grow, and that's how we use the collective knowledge of everybody. All right, so first thing I would point out is Elsa did a really good job of not jumping on Josie for not changing. Again, as a manager, human feelings, and you're like, I've told you this. Why are you still doing it? But she didn't. She calmly asked a question. Hey, I noticed you're still doing that, right? Always a great way to start the conversation. Doesn't make it adversarial, and it doesn't make it defensive. Elsa does need to acknowledge that Josie's right that feedback is a suggestion. It's not a requirement. It's not a rule. Unless Elsa says, you know what, I'm going to make a rule. No laptops, no phones, no anything in a meeting. That's a different story, but this was feedback. Feedback becomes a suggestion. Now, if she's explained it well, Josie should know why that feedback is given to her. But in the end, Josie has the option to decide what to do. Now, Josie did talk to her and say, I thought this, but Elsa should be coaching her and said, you know what? I understand your thought process and I appreciate you sharing that with me. But I would like you to tell me that ahead of time. So if she would have said to her 2 days later afterwards and said, I listened to your feedback about the laptop. I talked to some of the people in the meeting and nobody's really offended by it or anything. So I'm going to keep doing it. I appreciate your feedback, but it helps me. That would have been the appropriate thing for Josie to do. And Elsa needs to coach her and say, that is your choice. It is feedback, but it helps if you do it. Otherwise, someone is going to think she's not listening to me. But the fact that she listened to her, she thought about it, and she came up with a logical reason. You can agree with it or not, but it makes sense. That's what matters. I would also, if I were Elsa, say, you know what? That's great. I'm so glad you talked to the group and there's that understanding. However, don't assume that every group is like that. So in other words, if Josie's going to a meeting with another department or where there's a mixture of departments in there, she shouldn't just assume everybody has the same thought. She has to think about that feedback of, oh, it looks like you're doing something else or not paying attention differently. And she can say to those people, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you mind? But she has to be willing to do that and understand that doesn't carry over to every group. So those are my thoughts on not changing after feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and go be a great manager.